What's up, Boulder, Colorado? It's a great day for a spring game. The black and gold's happening today. And with that, a lot of surprises have popped up in the last, 15 hours. 2 commitments landed and an anticipation of about 3 more within the next 12 hours. Absurd. Looks like Coach Prime is on fire, rebuilding this roster with a master plan to be successful in the Big 12 next season. Now, we're going to dive into that. Plus, a little bit later, we're going to jump in and talk about what Coach Prime's plan is, as well as the excitement that's going to be happening from the spring game. So you don't want to miss that. So make sure you stick around. So let's jump into here from the prime time of college football. All right, first off, let's talk about the 2 commitments that just came down the line yesterday. Last night was a busy one for the Buffs and Coach Prime. Of course, like I said, the excitement is there. You can see that we coming. And these 2 commitments are actually pretty big for what they're trying to do. One is a transfer, so they're going to be impactful going into next season. And the other one is a recruit that will be part of the 2025 class, which will be integral in what Coach Prime and staff does going into the next year with the anticipation of so many players potentially entering the draft, including the likes of a Travis Hunter as well as Deion Sanders. So let's talk about these commitments, and then we'll talk about what's coming down the line as well. First, let's talk about the guy that's going to be playing today. We've got Wyatt Hmel, who played at Villanova the last 4 years. He is a 6'6", 310-pound offensive lineman, has 1 year left of eligibility. And one key thing about him making his appearance in Colorado, he did a visit, loved what he saw, decided that this was going to be home and where he wanted to finish his career as a grad transfer. But there was a stat that jumped out that just blew my mind. Last season, he had 402 snaps while at Villanova and only allowed 3 total pressures the entire season. Now, I know that was a major concern for you Buff fans, was that offensive line, because last year, not going to lie, was a little shaky. Well, when you bring in veteran presence like this, who has a proven track record of being successful on the offensive line, that just means that you're moving forward in the right direction. And so Wyatt will be available to play. He should be here this summer, playing here in fall ball. And I anticipate him taking one of the starting spots on the offensive line and helping protect Shedeur as he tries to drive for the Heisman Trophy and being drafted in the first round of next year's NFL draft. That's exciting times for Buffs fans. Y'all should be stoked because I definitely am, seeing that you got a big offensive line coming in that will, like I said, protect that quarterback, and which is critical if you want to survive in the Big 12. So make sure you give Wyatt some love. Give him a quick shout out in the comments and join this conversation. Next up, let's talk about this 2025 commit that's going to be big for what Colorado is doing going into the 2025 class. So we got a lot to talk about here with Alex Graham, the cornerback out of Detroit, Michigan. He plays at IMG Academy, which is out in Florida, and he's coming to Colorado. Decided to commit here on the visit. Alex, 6 foot, about 185 pounds, pretty solid athlete. The big thing with him is, man, ranked 4 stars, top 250 player in the country, consensus and composite. And when I say that, it's a big deal because this man's offer list is huge. I went through the entire listing he has. He has, of course, Colorado, where he committed. But he's got the likes of a Michigan, a Penn State, Oregon. He's got Ohio State, Notre Dame, Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Michigan State, USC, Texas A&M, Miami, Missouri. I mean, he's got all the top schools that you would want a corner to be getting offers from in his pocket. And now Alex here has decided that he wanted to play for the former pros. And it was cool because in his interview, he stated that, having a head coach that's a Hall of Famer and former NFL guy that is considered one of the greatest to play the game, he wants to learn and absorb all that information he can from Coach Prime and that staff on his ability to make himself grow as an elite player. That's huge for the Buffs because you want guys that want to absorb that, right? That's always the goal, is to get guys that want to take in and soak the information that Coach Prime has to offer, and the staff, because, again, this staff is full of a bunch of NFL veterans. That's huge, right? So I like seeing that from Alex. I mean, of course, offensive coordinator Robert Livingston's going to have a lot of work to do, and building up that secondary. And I think Alex is going to be a very key piece. Being a top 250 player in the country is big, and then having the offer list that he has, Alex is going to shake some things up. And he could be a big anchor for Colorado's efforts in the recruiting trail, especially down there in Florida and at IMG Academy. Remember, IMG brings in a lot of top players that really want to, get their schooling done while also focusing on football, kind of trains them and preps them for the lifestyle of in college. And so because of that, I think Alex has a very good chance of recruiting some additional players out of IMG and trying to get them over to Boulder to play with them. They can use that as a pipeline. Whoo-wee! The sky is the limit for what Colorado's doing. And so that's Alex Graham there, recent commit. There's probably another commitment going on while you're watching this video. We'll make sure to cover those a little bit later today. We'll have all three of the commitments going down. We'll talk about them a little bit later because Colorado ain't done. And this is why Colorado ain't done. Let's talk about the spring game. There's a large list of people that's going to be pulling up for the spring game today. And I want to give you some of the key players that y'all need to keep your eyes on. So as I told y'all, Coach Prime's got some 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, everything stars coming through for the spring game. Transfers, everything. It's going to be a big show. And it's going to be a big production. And it's something you all should keep your eyes out for. And so I have a couple players I wanted to point out. We talked about Michael Fasusi a couple videos ago. If you haven't seen that, feel free to check it out here on the channel. He had already said that he's going to come through, and he's pretty excited about checking out Boulder, Colorado, right? He mentioned that the Buffs were a late bloomer in his recruitment, but he likes to hear what they're talking about, right? And so from there, on top of him, you see that Colorado is focusing in a lot of areas that they're familiar with. You got 4-star Zaire Addison out of Riverview, Florida. And another Florida kid, if you've noticed, Coach Prime and the players he's going after, he has a plan. He's getting a lot of kids from places that he has ties to. Florida, Texas, you're seeing them, which are both hotbeds for talent. He's doing a really good job of bringing some. And so Addison is one of the top 25 offensive tackles in the nation. He's a 4-star player in the 2025 class. Another piece that will be pulling up. Adding him to that list, you got to look at Mantrez Walker, a linebacker. He's a 3-star out of Buford, Georgia. So there's some Georgia ties going in there. He's a top 60 linebacker in the country. So Colorado's trying to get themselves out there in that area. Also, another lineman in Nick Brooks, 4-star offensive tackle. He's a top 20 offensive tackle in the country. And he's looking at he just came off visits with Texas, Ohio State, spent some time at Alabama, and even at Iowa, in which Iowa is a factory for offensive linemen. If you've got a school like that going after the same player as you, you're doing something right. And so, and the last one really I think you jump out to me is going to be J.C. Johnson, Juice. He is a 2027. Now, he's a few years down the line, but it's cool to see that Colorado's pushing for distance players as well. They're trying to get some players down the line, build a true pipeline as he's out of Georgia, which is another hotbed for talent. Florida, Georgia, Texas. Seeing that Prime is focusing on bringing in those big national players that's going to be able to lead the Buffs to a playoff berth. That's a huge deal. And so make sure y'all tune into the spring game. I will be watching. We'll have a recap of what things look like later on today, if not first thing in the morning. And we're also going to be diving into these commitments that are coming down the line. As I mentioned before, we talked about Fasusi in another video. There's also another transfer that came through at running back that y'all got to know about. That video is right here on the screen, so make sure you click through and check it out. We'll talk soon.